Help, I'm falling. And what I want to know is how fast am I falling? So the situation is that uh, I've got a ladder up on the wall, I'm on the ladder, and then all of a sudden the ladder starts sliding out from underneath me. It's a 15-foot ladder. The base of the ladder starts 5 feet from the wall. It starts to slide away from the wall at a rate of 1.75 feet per second. After 3 seconds, how fast is the tip of the ladder sliding down the wall? So how fast is the top of the ladder sliding down the wall? So let's start with, obviously I don't have room to write it on this page, so let's start with um, let's start with a picture. Okay, so that should be our first step. So we'll start with a picture, and here is the situation. I've got a ladder. So step one, we're going to start with a picture. I've got a ladder on a wall. In fact, like this. And so here's my ladder. And so before I write in any numbers, I'm going to say that this is X and this is Y. So the height of the ladder is Y. The horizontal distance from the wall is X. They're both changing, right? Now I'm going to label the length of the ladder 15 because that's not changing. The ladder is always going to be 15. So we don't need to take into account any change in the ladder length. It's always going to be 15. So, so this is my picture. And so I need to find a relationship between the things that are changing so I can build a model for what's happening. And I think my relationship is going to be x squared plus y squared equals 15 squared, which is 225. All right, so that's the relationship, Pythagorean theorem. All right, and so now I'm going to take the derivative. And so 2 times x times dx dt is the derivative of x squared, because they're changing with respect to time, plus 2y dy dt, because that's also changing with respect to time, and that's equal to 0. Okay, because the derivative of 225 is 0. So we built a model, we got the picture, we built a model, we've got the derivative now. We can simplify the derivative real quick. These 2's are going to cancel out. So when if I divide everything by 2, then I'll end up with just considering x dx dt plus y dy dt equals 0. Excuse me. So now we'll look at number 4, step 4, is write down everything that we know. Well, I want this when x is equal to, well, the ladder starts at 5, but it slides for a while. It slides for 3 seconds, so we better figure out what x is first. X is going to be equal to 5 plus however long, the distance that it slides for that amount of time. So if it's going 1.75 feet per second for 3 seconds, that will be x. And so if you figure that out, you get that x equals 10.25. Okay, so that horizontal distance is 10.25. Whoop. Okay. So we'll write that in there, 10.25. What is y? Okay, well, y is, I don't know it, but I can figure it out because Pythagorean theorem tells me I can go y squared plus 10.25 squared equal to 225. And when you do this, you end up with y equals 10.952 feet. Okay, so x and y are pretty close to the same, but y is 10.952. All right, dx dt, let's draw a line here. Dx dt, the change in x with respect to time, well, that's how fast the ladder is moving out away from the wall, right? It's how fast the ladder is moving in this direction. That's a change in x with respect to time. And we know that that is 3 feet per second. Excuse me, 1.75 feet per second. Okay. And dy dt, we can figure out also, that's what we want to know, right? So that's what we are ultimately want to know, because that's the tip of the ladder. How fast is the tip of the ladder moving down the wall, moving in this direction? Okay, that's dy dt. And we would expect dy dt to be negative also. because it's moving in the downward direction, okay, based on how we drew our picture. So let's go through and let's finish solving this. So step 5, plug everything in and simplify. So x is 10.25, the xdt is 1.75 plus 10.952 times dy dt, which is what I'm trying to figure out. That's all equal to 0. Okay, and when you do all the math, you end up with dy dt equal to negative 1.638 feet per second. And like I said, we would expect it to be negative because it's moving in the downward direction. So as long as you follow your 5 steps, along the way pick up the information that you're missing. For instance, we had to go figure out what x was, we had to go figure out what y was. We had the information, but it wasn't explicitly given to us. And then basically after that, it's just plugging everything in.